back to my channel. I think I'll have to take that back. I welcome myself back to this channel because you guys have always been here, and I would like to say that I know it's been long that I posted a video on this channel, and I'm so sorry I did not give any notice before I left for that long, and I'm really so sorry. I got overwhelmed, and there was a lot happening at the same time. I had a lot on my plate. I had a new job that was extremely overwhelming because it's still very new, and we just relocated, which was about 3 months in Canada. And I know that I was posting some like videos of how we relocated and all of that, but at some point I just got a bit tired. I just needed to go back and to understand how I'm going to ensure that I create a balance. So I am so sorry that I had to go for that long, and I'm sorry that I did not notify you guys. And I think right now I'm taking baby steps coming in. I'm not going to say I'll be posting like weekly or bi-weekly, but one thing I know is that I'm back, and I'm slowly coming back into I don't want to say business. Anyway, let's go to why I'm making this video today. I think this video is long overdue. I know I've said I was going to post a video of how we relocated to Canada, like the process, how we relocated as permanent residents, myself, my husband, and as of then, my 4-month-old baby. She's gonna be 1 in a few days now. So first thing I would like to say before I move into how we relocated is that just want to throw in like a disclaimer that everything I'll be saying today is just out of my personal experience. I'm not a professional immigration officer or immigration consultant in any way. This is not a legal advice. This is not a professional advice. It's just solely on my personal experience, and if you will be following like the path, then you're going to have all the liability to yourself. I'm not responsible for anything. I will also be talking about some resources that I used that helped with this process. So please note that it's solely out of my personal experience. Okay, so we came into Canada as permanent resident through the Express Entry program. So there are different ways of relocating to Canada, like immigration processes, and there is the Express Entry, which we used. And under Express Entry, there are like 3 programs under Express Entry program, right? So there is the Federal Skilled Worker, there is Federal Trade Workers, and there is the Canadian Experience class. Yeah, so we came into the Federal Skilled Worker, which I'll be touching base on because that is what I can only say, because that was what we came into. I can just give a brief understanding on the others. So I know that Canadian experience class is for people that came in as students to Canada and have gained the work experience. For the Federal Trade Skilled Workers, I think that's for, let me just call it like a blue collar job. Yeah, so just for like blue collar jobs. And for the Federal Skill is like technically is white collar jobs. So we came in through the Federal Skilled Worker, and that process, technically I would say it's a point-based system, kind of. So you need a particular point to be able to get an invitation to apply for the process. I think that's, yeah, so that's it. You so the Federal Skilled Worker, you are coming in as someone who has had like experience in your own country, and you will be coming in as a permanent resident if you get an invitation to apply. So that was what we did. We got invitation to apply and we came into Canada, and the application process is not as easy as what I just said. Believe me. So in 2017, I met my husband, then boyfriend, and I remember he mentioned that he was interested in relocating to Canada, and for me, as at that time, I wasn't really interested in relocation. I'm the girl that will tell you that I want to make a lot of money in Nigeria and then maybe travel to spend the money, enjoy my life, come back to Nigeria and just stay back. Okay, so I just told him, you know what, you can go on with your relocation process. I support you, but it's not just my thing right now. Maybe I can change my mind in the future. So that was what we agreed on. And in 2019, I remember that in 2019, he told me that he was still going on with the process, and he told me that, oh, Busola, somebody actually told me, we're still dating there, somebody actually told me that you being a lawyer, because I was called to the bar in 2018, that's Nigerian law school, in 2018, and I had started practicing. You being a lawyer will actually be more, will give more points. Like I said, federal skill is a points-based system. Will give us more points if you commit yourself to this thing, like you being like the primary applicant. I'm like, guy, I told you I am not interested in this thing. You do your thing while I do my thing. But one thing he has always done, and I give him credit to all of this process, because even though I know that I was the primary applicant, he was one that did the initial pushing. So he told me, you know what's fine, you don't want to do anything, but just do something. You have to do two things, which was in 2019. You will do your passport, I'll pay for it. You will do your evaluation, like assessment, educational assessment evaluation. You send your transcripts to this evaluation body to evaluate your transcripts. I said, if that is no problem, I can do that. I'm not going to be doing anything as far as I'm not writing the IELTS exams. That was in 2019. Okay, so so for the federal skilled worker, like I mentioned, that it's a point-based system, and there are so many things that is required for you to acquire a lot of points to be able to get ITA, which is invitation to apply for the process itself. So you can always you can open a profile, which is like the first process, but before then there are so many things you must have done, like at the background, which is the first thing, like I mentioned, that my husband did for me at then, my boyfriend, was to get a passport. So I believe that this process can be lengthy. Personally, I think the first thing to always consider is getting a passport first. If you really want to relocate, if you really want to travel, you need a passport, right? And technically, without the passport, you might not be able to move ahead with the process. So first thing, passport. And the second thing which I did was my education evaluation, which I really believe you can do it concurrently, because you can be processing for your passport and at the same time processing the transcripts. And there are different evaluation bodies. I did with ICAS. Like I said, I studied law, and for law, it's been, if you go through ICAS, it will be evaluated as a professional body. And for federal skill worker application, like for the express entry, let me just remove the federal skill. For express entry, for professional bodies and masters, they are being evaluated like ranked the same. So if you have a master's and your result has been evaluated as professional, then if the point, for instance, is 50 for masters, it's same thing for professional. So you do not need to like get a master's. So for ICAS, I know that they were going to evaluate my law degree, not even my LLB, not even my call to bar certificate. This is just purely LLB, as professional. So I know this applies to law, medicine, that's for doctors and pharmacists. Any other professional course in Nigeria, I'm not so sure that it will be evaluated like that. And the higher you get, the better it is, right? So if you have your master's, you have more points compared to someone that has just a degree. Someone that has like 2 or more certificates is better than someone that has a degree. So that is how the ranking is. So for example, I think the maximum you can get for education is like 140, and that's if you have like a PhD. So the next one will be like the master's / professional courses, right? And that would be, let's say for instance, that's like 130 points. I'm not so sure, I think it's 126 actually. So 130 points. So and maybe the next one will now go to 2 or more certificates, and then the next behind will be the degree. It's just, you just need to acquire points, because those are the points that will determine if you get invitation to apply or not. So once you have like enough points, you can open the profile and then wait in the pool till you get like an invitation to apply. And that is basically on whether you have enough points. So if there is like a draw, which usually like bi-weekly. I'm not talking about the recent, I don't know how it works now, but as of then it used to be bi-weekly. And once you are able to get the points, like maybe you have like the points that is being like the points that maybe for this week, for instance, you have like 470, right? And the points for that week is 470 and below. So they will give like the maximum points. I'm sorry, what am I saying? 470 and above. So the minimum you can have to get an invitation to apply is 470. And once you know that you have 470, then there is a tendency that you get invitation to apply. I said tendency because there are also some other factors that must be put into consideration. But one thing is the tie-breaking rule. Tie-breaking rule means that, so if you open your profile, for instance, in February, and there was a draw in March, and it says that 470, and you have 470, but it says tie-breaking rule is in January. That means that if you had not opened your profile in January, you will not get invitation to apply. So that's one thing about this point-based system. You have to be faster, like do the things you need to do as quickly as possible, because you don't know how the points, people can get a lot of points. Some people go to any lengths to do so many things, have like maybe the French exams, take the French exams, take IELTS, which I'll be talking about soon, take lots of things just to acquire enough points. So what are the things that will give you lots of points? You need your certificate, of course, like I mentioned, which I evaluated with ICARS. You need your work experience, and the maximum is 3 years. So like the higher you get, the better it is. So it's always good to move on the side of the maximum. So you might have 2 years experience, work experience, but it's better you have like 3 years work experience. And the best is to have 3 years work experience. You will need like also you can get points if you have siblings already in Canada. That's like extra 15 points, so more points. If you're already working in Canada, so that's for the Canadian work experience class, something like that. If you have your age, I'm so sorry, that should have been one of the things I should have said first. Age is a determining factor for express entry. Like I mentioned before, there are so many routes to immigrate, and one of the resources I will mention now is canada.ca. Like I know that you can get a lot of information out there, especially if you don't have like guidance, like maybe you don't have you're not going through any agency, you're doing it on your own, just like we did, like a do-it-yourself process, which I believe for express entry most people can do. So you make sure that you're getting the correct resources, which is canada.ca. Under canada.ca you can see like maybe immigration. There are a whole lot of information, like from the documents you need, from how to open a profile, how to get ITA, all of the information, like even to the scores. So age, like I mentioned, so age, I know that I think the minimum age that you need before you can apply is 19 or 18, I think 17. But the best to get is for someone to be like 20 20 to 29. So if you're age 20 to 29, you're getting the maximum points. But the day you clock 30, my sister and my brother, I'm joking, the day you clock 30 is the day you start losing marks. Yeah, it's that bad. So the day you clock 30, you know that you've lost like 5 points. The day you clock 31, you lost another 5 points. So it just keeps going down, 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 down. So that's why you also have to understand that even though they say it's point based, even though they say it's federal skilled workers, like it's for skilled workers, for someone who has had like foreign work experience, like outside of Canada. That's why I mentioned foreign. You also have to understand that it's always advisable to apply when you're between the age of 20 to 29. I'm not saying that if you're 30, if you're 31, if you're 35, you cannot apply. You can. And fortunately, even though I mentioned that there are 3 under express entry, there's also something that is called provincial nomination process, like provincial nomination program, which even though you are in the pool, you haven't gotten like ITA, like invitation to apply by government of Canada, like the immigration process, IRCC, immigration something on my screen. If you've not gotten that, you may actually get an invitation to apply by the province, like because there is a province program too. So some provinces can decide that, oh, we love you, you have what we need this your experience here, I think we need to send an invitation to apply. So it might just be like a longer route compared to you being getting the ITA directly. You may have to get ITA first from the province, then you get ITA from the federal body. Yeah, I think that would make sense like that. Yeah. So I'm using some words just so that people, like, if you're listening, you can understand. So it might not be the right terminology, but it works. So the provincial nomination, so it's usually good to just be in the pool, even though your points might be lower. It's usually advisable to still stay in the pool. And also I know that some provinces you may have to apply yourself, so they won't be the one to send an application, maybe pay for the application. I really do not know much about provincial, so I'm going to stop there. Okay, so like I said, the first thing I did was to get my passport. That was in 2019. The next thing I did was to do the evaluation, and being a lawyer, it was evaluated as professional with ICAS. I understand that it's not all educational bodies, assessment bodies, that do evaluate law as professional. So you also have to understand, I know definitely for sure, if you have your LLB, ICAS will evaluate it as professional for you as a lawyer. Then one thing to also know is that I've been beginning to lose my train of thought. Okay, so one thing I wanted to say is that it's your highest degree that you need to evaluate. So for instance, you have a master's. So this is outside law thing. You have a master's, you want to evaluate with WES. I know there is WES, it's also an evaluation body. You want to evaluate with WES. You don't need to start packing like your BSc, whatever degree you have. You don't need that since you have your master's. So that's the highest, and that's fine. If you have your PhD, that's fine. But if you have like 2 or more certificates, so you have like your degree and you have like a diploma, it's better you send in both to be accessed, because you need the points for 2 or more certificates. Or if you have a master's, you don't have to go for other degrees, just send in your master's. So that's the next thing. Then the next thing to do is the organ of the organ. So I was mentioning some things for the points base. The one thing to also know is IELTS. you cannot, let me say it, you cannot apply for express entry. You cannot get an invitation to apply for express entry program without an IELTS exam or the TEF. TEF is the French one, language exam. So English language test or the French language test. Either of these or both is required. So if you can do both, more points. So you need the IELTS. So when I did the I got my passport in 2019. I got my IELTS back in, I think, January, something like that, in January 2020. And then the next thing, my then boyfriend told me is that, babe, you don't have to write IELTS. I told you I'm not gonna write any exams and all of that. And he said, okay, no pressure, it's fine if you're not writing, but you know, like I mentioned, if you come in as the primary applicant, it will be better for us. But like I said, I already have my passport and I already have my transcripts, like my IELTS evaluation results with me, which I will always say these two things are very important, because some people rushed in to write the test. IELTS test expires in 2 years, so once it's 2 years, you can no longer use that test to open a profile. So people make the mistake of going in to write the test first and then realize, oh, I need a passport. You can't even write the test without a passport, I'm sorry. But oh, now I need to do my educational evaluation thing, maybe with WES or with ICAS, whichever evaluation body you're using, and then time is going. I know that now, unlike when I did my own evaluation, which was, I don't know, it was so fast. Now people are trying to even get like their result evaluated. To even open a profile with ICAS can take months. I'm not joking. I've had friends, people that have told me we're still trying to get through to ICAS, because a lot of people are going through this route. A lot of people want to immigrate, and fortunately Canada is open to many people, is open to everyone that really wants to relocate. And the advantage is that you're coming in as a permanent resident, which is cool, and in 3 years you can apply to be a citizen. Like, it's so cool, the process is cool, and honestly it's the best so far. Yeah, coming from an incoming Canadian. Okay, so that's just to lighten the mood. So IELTS should, for me personally, should be the third thing if you want to come through this route. After your passport, after your evaluation, then IELTS. So in 2020, same 2020, that was the thick of COVID came in April. I think in March I lost my job. In March I lost my job, and it wasn't out of incompetency, it wasn't all of that. I lost my job anyway, and I just got frustrated. In the middle of COVID, I was trying to get a job. I remember my uncle referred me to someone, gave me someone's phone number to call, and maybe I sent the person one message, and the response I got was, are you being insensitive? Don't you know what is happening in the world and you're trying to look for a job? Oh my God. Not maybe exactly in that word, in what I just said, but it was something close to it. And I felt so bad. I got so frustrated. There was a lot going on in my mind. And another reason why I think I decided that I was going to push on with this thing, because I know that I did all of those things before, like the passport and evaluation, and I'm not going to lie, it was fully funded by Mira, because it wasn't something I wanted, right? So the hilarious thing that I'm going to say that pushed me to write an IELTS, you are not going to believe it, was the disturbing noise of generators. It was getting at me, and I think it's some sort of, what do you call this thing? It was so uncomfortable for me. I was beginning to get like some sort of anxiety from the noise and all of that. It was just getting to me. Most people rely heavily on generators, like that's because I don't blame people. People need lights. So, and I remember I had to close windows to even sleep. I had to close all windows to be able to sleep, and then I don't feel like fresh air is even coming to the room and all of that. I just got so frustrated without the job and the disturbing noise of generator. It's funny, but that's like one of the reasons why I decided I was going to go through the relocation process. And then my not getting a job thing was also disturbing, and I just said, you know what, I'm going to do this. So in May, I told Mewa, I think I'm going to write IELTS. I think I will go for it. And as at then, when like people were at home, people were not working. I think it was even like the thick of lockdown and all of that. I just told him, and he said, okay, fine. Like he was so happy, someone that has been even waiting for me to get on board, right? So I told him I was going to write the exams, and he searched and he said like the next exam date is in 3 weeks. Oh my god, I don't know anything about IELTS. I know nothing about it. I said, okay, it's in 3 weeks, that's fine, I'll write it. So he told me, okay, so you will need to practice and practice a lot. It's not just about speaking English, you need to practice a lot, so that you can know the tips on how to just get the needed points that you need. And it was 3 weeks to the exam date. I wrote my IELTS in June 20th, like June 20th, 2020. Yeah, that was the day I wrote my IELTS in Abeokuta. And there are different bodies for IELTS. I think there are just two. I'm sorry, they're just two. I wrote my IELTS with IDP. I also know there is another body that I had just 3 weeks to write the test. If you've done IELTS before, you know how intense you need to practice. I got like someone that will help like with tutorial, like a tutor on Instagram. I'll put like the name of the Instagram this thing. So I got the tutor, we paid for it. It's like a month tutorial, but I had just 3 weeks, so I was only able to do like 3 weeks. So what she was doing was to just guide you, like also now push you, give you like some tests to do, like to work on, practice on. So, and then maybe give you like tips you need to understand and all of that. Maybe you need to focus more on some things, focus more on some particular process. So in IELTS, there are 4 tests that someone will write. If you're writing IELTS, you need your listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Yeah, listening. So those are the 4. And I want to go deep into IELTS now. Yeah, so these things that some people do not really talk about IELTS deep enough, and I think we need to go deep enough. So like I said, there is reading, there is speaking, there is listening, there is writing. And one thing you need to understand is that the highest point for all of this is 999. But you really do not have to have 999 in all of this. I haven't mentioned, so if you want to even know, like, okay, I want to go through this process, but I don't want to waste my time so much. Let me even know the points that I will have if I'm coming in now. Okay, I have like this degree, I have this, I have that. One thing I would like to say is that there is this like comprehensive ranking system 2. Yeah, that's what it's called, CRS2. To fill in the information, like you have a couple of questions. All of these things can be found in Canada.ca. I'm not joking. Like all of the resources you need, all of the information, all of the things I'm saying now, all of the process I went through can be found, like the information can be found in Canada.ca. But like you can just maybe Google comprehensive ranking system to CRS2, and you'll be able to see like questions to answer, like, are you coming in like single? Are you coming in married? What's your age? Like I said, age is like a big point. It's a determining factor for all of these things. What's your age? Have you gained work experience in your own country? Have you gained work experience in Canada? You just answer all of these questions and you'll be able to get the total points that you will have provided you open a profile. So a lot of people do this thing, like maybe do this year and then open a profile in 2 years and think that you are, maybe for instance you're 29 and you checked, and the next 2 years you then open a profile, you've lost like 10 points already by not opening the profile at the age of 29. So it's really very important to do it as quickly as possible. And so once you're able to check, you will know the things that you need, especially for IELTS. I know that the highest is 9, but you do not need to get 99999, which I didn't know at that time. I know Miwa told me, oh, you need to get 888 in everything. Oh my God, how did I tortured me? So if you check this comprehensive ranking system, you realize that in speaking and writing, what you need is like 7.5. Like, that's, if you want to get the maximum points, you're okay with 7.5 in speaking and in writing. In listening, you're okay with 8.5, because whether you have 9 or you have 8.5, it's gonna be the same point. So like in reading and writing, whether you have 7.5, you have 8, you have 8.5, you have 9, it's one and the same point. So I think it's always better to understand all of these things so that you'll be able to prepare. You know that you need, if you're looking for the maximum, you need 8.5 in listening, like no shaking. So maybe you work more for listening than you work more for reading. Like, practice, these things are practice, right? So if you do 3 tests in a day, and if you do, I'm so sorry, if you do 3 tests each for each of the tests, each of the language tests in a day, you know that maybe you need to focus more on putting like 4 for listening and maybe put 2 for others. So that is how, for me personally, that is what I believe. That is just the process in passing IELTS. It's okay to get a tutor, and honestly, if you do not get a tutor, you also can pass IELTS. My personal opinion. So it just requires practice, because what your tutor will likely give you is also practice. Like, do a lot of practicing and practicing and practicing. So and I know that one general thing that people say is that once you have 7 in IELTS, you're fine, or once you have like 7.5, it's a lie. It's a big lie. So you also need to understand that, okay, what is my minimum that I can have that will still be maybe a bit okay. So I wrote the IELTS June 20th, and in July 3rd, that was my birthday, my results came out. Like I told you, Mira already told me that I needed 8 in all of these things, which is a lie. So I had listening, I had 8, and others I had 7.5, and my mind failed. And like I told you, it wasn't something that I was really interested in. And I just said, you know what, I think I'm going to give up, because I knew that if I didn't pass it out, I don't think I was going to write IELTS again. And I told Mira, this is my result, and told me, wait, you passed? Because by then, like I told you, you can always use the comprehensive ranking system. So you checked and realized that, Busola, we have 475 points with what you just did. We have 475 points. I'm like, really? But you said I have to have 8. Said yes, it was just to push you. So you can also use that if that's it. But personally, I believe it's just better to be real so that you can focus on. If I knew listening was that important, oh my God, maybe I would have had 8.5. But it was still good. So like I said, it's not just 7. So for instance, if you have 7.5 in listening, you're already losing 57 points. Yeah, it's that much. So you know that anything you do, you must not have 7.5 in listening. So for all that, it's even okay for you to have like 777. Yeah, it's okay to have 7. You might be losing like maybe 3 points. So I had 7.5 in writing and reading, which is the highest, right? But I also had 7.5 in speaking, and the highest for speaking was 8, like what you need to get the highest point. So I lost 3 points with that, and for listening, I also lost 3 points for having 8 instead of 8.5, which was a total of 6 points. So I dashed IELTS 6 points. But imagine if I had 7.5 in listening, I would have dashed IELTS 57 points. That's a lot, honestly, that's a lot. So you know, whatever you do not have anything less than 8 in listening. And maybe it's okay to have like 7.5 in others. But if you want to ace it, have your 7.5 like in reading and writing, have your 8 in speaking, and have your 8.5 in listening. With that, you're not losing any points. So that's one thing, you know. I think I've gone deep enough about IELTS. So when I wrote the IELTS, and we had 475, and that was in July, 3rd July, on my birthday. Yeah, God gave me a birthday gift. And as I then, I think like 2 weeks before then, there was a draw which was maybe like 473. So like we knew that we had good points, and I had all my requirements. Like I had my ICAS, I had my passports, so I was good to open a profile. Except one thing, we wanted to open as a couple, because it's okay to open as single and maybe you then join your, like, add your spouse when you marry, but we didn't want to go through that process. And like I said, I was already engaged in February, planning to get married already. So we did a big thing. So we got married in July 23. We did the registry, just the registry. The marriage celebration was in May. That was the next year. So with the blessings of our parents, we got married in Ikeja, because it was even in COVID, like it was between COVID. I know that Ikoyi registry was telling us that they need to come to our house. So we just went to a registry in Ikeja, and my uncle's wife, my aunt, my uncle's wife followed me to be like a witness. My parents couldn't come, of course. It was urgent. It was the day after my was birthday, by the way, and we got married. And the next day we opened the profile as couple. Bam. And of course we had all the requirements. So I've mentioned passport, I've mentioned West, if it's West or ICAS, I've mentioned IELTS. With these three, if you're good, you have all of those things, you can open the profile. Like I said, this thing has 2 years expiration date. You don't want to waste these 2 years. So we opened the profile that same month, in July. And once you're opening the profile, you start preparing for all other documents. So once you get invitation to apply, the documents you will need, you might need like your birth certificate, you will need like work reference, like reference from your past employers, you will need proof of points. Proof of points. So proof of points is to show that you have like a particular amount of money, just to ensure that when you're coming into Canada, you're fine. So if you're coming in as single, there is a particular amount you must have in your account in the last 6 months, because technically what you'll be submitting is your 6 months statement of account. So as family of 2, which we were, I think ours was 16,000 Canadian dollars, like 16,000 plus. Is it 16? Yeah, I think it was 16. Yeah, it was 16 plus as family of 2. I know that for single, I think it's like 12,000 plus. It's a lot of money, and I understand that people may not have it like personally. It's a lot of money, but also why this thing is being done, I totally understand that, because coming into Canada, you need money. If I'm going to be honest, now that I'm in Canada, you need money. You need to bring in money, because you don't know what will happen, like in the first month, in the second month. I'm really always happy for people that will say things like, I got a job before coming to Canada. You don't know what God has done for you. Like, it's a big thing. It's a big thing to come in and start earning in dollars, rather than you converting your naira. It's a lot. When you change it, you will be bitter. You'll be angry. So it's quite understandable, but also there are also systems which you will also find in like Canada.ca, systems in place to maybe you get the sum of money as maybe gifts from your family. Like, you will see it like there. You can maybe like support it like a deed of gifts, maybe from your spouse, your parents, like closest relations. Like, you have to be close, so you can always support it like that. So if you don't have it personally, maybe you can get your parents to give you the money, put it in your account, support it like any instrument, like it can be like deed of gifts and all of that. So that's it. POF, birth certificates, police certificates. So you also need to get police certificates, and that's all of these things I'm saying. That's when you've gotten your invitation to apply, then you get all of this, because I know that police certificate also expires in 3 months, I think so. I'm not so sure. So you need to ensure that you don't rush in to get all of these things until when you need it, right? You need your medicals. That's a lot of money too. So for the medicals, is when you receive the invitation to apply, then you get a request for medicals to like go for the medicals. Then they will, like, the hospital will submit your medicals. I know there are two in Nigeria. There is IOM and Q Life. Those are the two hospitals, different locations. Might be in Lagos, might be in Abuja, I'm not so sure, but I was based in Lagos, so I can only talk about Lagos. I know IOM is in Ikeja, Q Life is in Victoria Island, Lagos. So finally we got invitation to apply in September. There was 475. Before then, I want to talk about it. Yeah, I think I should talk about it, because I'll also be enlightening you about you can actually apply for a remark. There's something they call remark. So if you have your IELTS point and you think that maybe there was something that could have happened, because I know I prepared so much for it, and maybe I should have gotten like higher points than what you're giving me, you can question it. So I told you I lost points to listening and speaking. Give me 3 points. Like, I was supposed to, if the IELTS 8.5, one was 8. So the next draw that came after we opened our profile was like 478. No, 476. I was bitter. Like, why? We need just one more point and would have gotten invitation to apply. So I told Mira, you know what, I'm going to apply for a remark, which was a mistake. I can finally say it now. It was a mistake, because you also need to understand that there are some things that whether they do remark till tomorrow, it's not going to change. So for listening, I had 8. So for listening, it's like MCQ, multiple choice question. So it's, if it's A, and these things are computer based, if the answer is A, nothing is going to change that A to B. So once you have like a particular mark for listening, it might not change if you do remark. So the only thing I was relying on was listening, which was a no-no, because it's like MCQ, it's a multiple choice question. So if the answer is A, it's going to be A. So one thing that people will advise is the only the ones that you can rely on from remark is listening and writing, because those ones are not MCQ. So if you write like a letter, what you're writing to another examiner might be like, okay, this person is good, I love this, I think this person deserves more points. So if it's reading, if it's listening, it's not really good to apply for remark. It might not change. Okay, and then for IELTS, for the express entry route, which we went through, like which we came in through, is general training. So there's so many resources out there to do your practice. IELTSonlinetest.com, that was what I relied on heavily, like heavily. I relied on it a lot. That was what helped me, I'm not even going to lie. But ensure that you're working on general training, because that is what you write the exam for. Academy is for, I don't know, let me not even say I know what you will need academy for if you're coming to Canada, but I know that if you're coming through the express entry, what you need is general training, which is way it is less complicated compared to academy. I've tried it before on IELTS test.com, and I told myself this is not for me. It will never be for me. Anyway, back to the test. So I did remark and I spent I told me, I know I'm going to pay for it. I am going to pay for it. So I spent maybe like 15,000 or 25,000. Then it was easier because it's just a particular sum which was not even. Now I know that whatever you used to pay to write the test is what you used to pay to apply for a mark. So if nothing changes, then you lose your money. But if something changed, they will refund your money. So me, nothing changed, so I lost my money. But thank God it wasn't the full money for like the exam. Unlike now, it's the same. So if you use 40k to write, I don't know about all of the prices now. I don't know. So that's why I'm being careful. I'm not saying like this is the amount you need. But I'm going to do another video for the amount we spent for all of this, like all the process. So now, someone has to be careful. You need to think deep before you apply for the remark, because of course you don't want to pay so much So I applied for remark. This was between the space of within July to September, because the IELTS, the IT invitation to apply that we got was in September, I think September 9 or thereabouts. I'm not so sure. So I applied because I was frustrated. I don't have a job. I didn't have a job. My job was putting in a lot, like getting a lot of information. And one thing that also helped me with a lot of information for this route is Nairaland. Oh my god, I got a lot of information on Nairaland. Like, all I needed was Nairaland. I'm not even going to kid you, because before I wrote the IELTS test, I wasn't deep into it. I didn't really know much. That was why Mira could make sure you get 8 and all of that for me, and it worked. So after the whole IELTS testing, and then we opened the profile, then I put myself into it. I started searching, and Nairaland was the big answer to it. Like, all of the documents I need, how to prepare for all of these documents, all of this. Like, there's this, it's called Federal Skilled Canadian something. Yeah, I'm going to put it on the screen if I can, so that in case you need if you need it. So I'm going to put it on the screen if I can. So Nairaland, like, it's different parts, maybe part 1, part 2, and like you can, like, I used to ask questions, get answers, all of that through Nairaland too. I was also able to join like a group that was within my AOR. AOR is acknowledgement of receipt. So once you get the IELTS, you submit all of your documents, then you pay BIM. You pay for the application of permanent residence and the permanent residence fee itself. Then you submit a profile. So the day you submit that profile, like the day you submit all of these documents and you make payment, is like, that's the day you now start counting that, okay, I'm going to get like request for passport in maybe 6 months. As at then, the processing period was 6 months. I don't know the processing period now, and even that 6 months, I'm coming there. I am coming there. So I did a remark, it didn't work, I lost my money. But finally in September, first week or second week, we got invitation to apply, because the points that came was 475 and we had 475, and the tie breaking rule was in our favor. So it wasn't before we submitted our profile, so it was good. So we had the ITA in September. We had 90 days to submit all of the documents, and then start counting the processing time. So we had 90 days. I know now it's 60 days. It's shorter, I'm sorry. So 90 days to pay, to submit all of the documents I've mentioned. Then you fill a lot of information. Even when you're opening profile, you already know. And one thing I would advise is that when you're opening a profile first, before you even get invitation to apply, before you even know maybe the next point you're going to get invitation to apply, once you're opening a profile, ensure that all of the information, if you have to take a screenshot or if you have to write it down, what I did during our own is I took a screenshot and I saved that in my Google Drive, which was good, because one thing that I know that Canada hates a lot, like through this process, is misrepresentation. You don't want to say A in your profile, then you say B in your permanent residence profile. You don't want all of that. And sometimes it's not even intentional. It just can be like maybe you didn't just calculate well. So for instance, there is like a place where you have to put the places you've been to, like your state, the city you've been to within maybe like 10 years. When I graduated from University of Abuja, I know that I stayed back. So you asked me, and I can't remember the exact month I left Abuja back home. So those little mistakes, like, so if, for instance, if I said, okay, I left in September, maybe through my guess, okay, maybe I left in September, and then for the permanent residence profile, and I said I left in August, that's a misrepresentation, even though it was honestly not intentional. So it's better to ensure that you save all of the information that you filled in your profile before you get the ITA, and ensure that it's the same thing that is being uploaded when you get the ITA, because it's more like the same questions, like most of it, not all anyway. So after the ITA, we finally submitted in October 29th. So we got the acknowledgement of receipt in October 29th. So that's when we started counting. So they told us you have like 6 months within which you get your passport. So technically within which you become a permanent resident. That's just it. So it was cool. We started counting, started waiting. I was already in a WhatsApp group that I got from Nairaland that was within my AOR. So AOR for I think October to December, or November to January, but because her AOR was October 29th, so I just said October people are not my people. Let me move to November, because really because the thing is why all of the support group are also very important is to ensure that your application is being worked on. So usually if your neighbor is getting like biometric requests and medicals, and the AOR for that person is like October, let's say November 1st, yeah. And you are AOR for October 29th. It might be something to be worried about. Sometimes it might not be. Maybe like in 2 days, 3 days, you might also get your own. So these things most times, quote unquote, most times happens like within the timeline that is being stated. But because it was COVID, oh my god, so we actually got biometrics and medical requests in December. So we did our medicals and we did biometrics and all of that, but nothing happened in 2021. All of 2021 there was no draw for federal skills. So there was draw for Canadian experience, yeah, for like that's people that came in through school and they're working in Canada. There was also draw for provincial nomination, but there was no draw for federal skill. Throughout 2021 everything was on hold. COVID came in and all of that. It was so frustrating. Something that should have taken 6 months, there's this timeline table you see on your profile, like they took it out. Just forget about this. I'm not sure that is ever going to come back, but I missed it then, because then I would watch, okay, so now I'm on 20%, good, very soon I'm going to be at 100%, but now I don't think all of those apply anymore. So finally I got married. I did marriage celebration in May. I was pregnant. Sometime in February, I was on admission in the hospital waiting to have my baby. I think I've said the story about the birth of my baby. And February 1st, Miwa came to the hospital and people are already getting remed. So for medicals, your medical expires after 1 year. I told you we had our own medicals in December. So as at December 2021, technically it has expired, even though it wasn't our fault, but they expect that every year you need to go for medical. So even if your processing time takes longer, naturally some people even do it on their own, like they do it and submit it, so they don't have to request for it. So as at 2022, started working on applications again, and February 1st it just came that people are getting remed. Have you gotten anything in your email? I said no, and lo and behold, I was just checking my phone, yeah, left, and I saw remed. Of that day I almost cried, because I remember when I took in, it was a lot of tension on me, because our plan was like, I want to have my baby in Canada, because of course baby will automatically become a citizen once you have your baby in Canada, like just like US, right? So I was sending a lot of email, but really nothing was happening in 2021. So that's the truth, which is not like the general thing. So maybe, I don't know the processing time now, so if they say maybe the processing time is like 12 months now, you may believe that it's going to be 12 months, because at least COVID is right now, COVID is like a part of us, and people are walking through the process, like just ensuring that we move on with life and all of that. So finally got remed in February, but I had to have my baby. I had my baby because I was already admitted in the hospital. After my baby, we went to get remed, and in March we got our first PPR without our baby, because we were just notifying them that we've had a baby. So that means that it's only me and Miwa that could get like a passport stamped to travel, right? So we sent in our passport. We're still also disturbing them that we already have a baby, our baby must be included. And one thing we also need to know is that, so if your family increase, your POF will increase. So we had to increase our POF, sending like, okay, so they sent like an acknowledgement of our mail to us, and they were asking, oh, we need all of these documents. We sent it to them already. So we needed to also show like a 6-month statement of account. So that's why it's very, very important that even though you've submitted like your statement of account 6 months, some people will say, oh, it's okay to touch that money. Please do not touch the money. Honestly, I would advise that just wait till you land in Canada before you touch the money, because anything can happen. We didn't know that our family was going to increase. We didn't know that we were going to still send in all of like an updated statement of account and all of that. So if they checked and realized that, oh, why is this thing 0, or why is it 5,000 naira? That means, or maybe you just got the money to just put in and all of that. So the process might be tedious and all of that. So it's better to ensure that you can close your eyes and say, you know what, this money is not my own. Like, you just, so it's not like when you are broke, then you go back to take the money, because they might actually ask for an updated POF. Anything can happen, dependent on whoever is checking your application and all of that, whoever is the office in your case. So depending on all of that, so we sent in our passport to be stamped, and at the same time we're feeling that we have a baby, we have a baby, we have a baby finally. And the baby process is all of the things we did except for biometrics. She doesn't need a biometric. For children, I do not think children needs biometric. I don't know the particular age. For most kids, I'll put the age factor for when you need a biometric as a child. We did not pay the permanent residence application. One of those is the application of fee. I'm going to put it on the screen. So we didn't pay for the dependents, so that's not required. And also, but we paid one. I think it was either the permanent residence fee or the application fee. And then for the medicals, it's quite easy. So I didn't even book, I just went. It was a walk-in. I just told them it's my baby and all of that, and they were able to, like, it was just the general testing, like check, ask a couple of questions. She was just 2 months, I think 2 months or 3 months. We did NIN for her, we did all of those things. It was a lengthy thing, but we just ensured that it was as fast as we could get. And finally in May we got PPR. That was for all of us, so we had to send up, we had received our passport, so we had to send the passport back to get it stamped. And then we traveled. So once we got our passport back, and then we came into Canada, we landed to Canada. And generally it's been said that it's the day you land in Canada that's the day you become a permanent resident. So even though we got our passport stamped, until you leave your country, that's when you become a permanent resident. So you cannot stay in for instance, you receive your passport, you now stay back and say, and there's expiration date too that you must leave. So I think it's like 1 year, 1 year, yeah, 1 year. So if you are in 1 year after your medical, or 1 year after you receive, whichever is closer, something like that. So of course you will see all of that in your stamp. So I don't have to talk about that, but so you see the expiration date, the day you have to leave your country. I know some people come in to Canada to do like soft landing, just to ensure that I've landed and then go back. Then when they are ready, they coming back to Canada and all of that. So that is how we came into Canada as permanent residents. Okay, so I'm trying to think what are the information that I should have given that I have not given. I do not think there is any other thing that I need to say. Like I said, a lot of resources are all there out there. Canada.ca, Nairaland, support groups, people that you know they are also going through the process. I know someone was asking that did I get a passport in one of my clients. You need all of the things you did, like the passports, and we had to even get our NIN. My daughter was closing eyes and all of those. To get our passports, we had to wait for 2 hours because she was sleeping and she refused to open her eyes. It was a lot of fun moments. I just had a baby. I wanted to go back to work for my 1 month notice and all that. It was a lot of, like, every day there was a plan. What are we doing today? Okay, are we going for this? Are we going for that? But thank God it's all over now. And please, if you have any questions, please drop it in the comment section. I will always be there to answer questions. That's one thing, unless I do not have the information. And I'm also going to put like all of these resources I've mentioned on link. So guys, thank you so much. Thank you for always watching. I gained like 2 subscribers recently. I'm like, really, like I felt so emotional. Like people are actually following, people are actually subscribing, even though I've been off for a long time, which I'm so sorry about. Like I'm sorry I didn't notify you guys before leaving, but I think now I'm back. Maybe not fully, but I'm better. I'm trying to understand balance. That's my plan for 2023, understanding balance. I think it's around 2 a.m. now. My baby's sleeping, and I feel like this is just the perfect time for me to do the video. Like I said, understanding balance. So it's okay to always, sometimes you just make excuse. I can't do this, but there are people out there doing it. So if they can, I can. So go. All right guys, thank you so much for watching. See you another day, another time. Do not forget, come to my comment section if you love this video, if you think that this video is useful, which I believe it is. Please share this video, tell people about it and all of that. And if you require any information, please, I'm gonna answer it. All right, see you guys another day, another time. Bye.